Hello, hello. Welcome to The Right Stuff with Crystyn Wright Diaz on American Legacy Network. So happy to be here. Welcome everybody here. We'll have a little bit of time later for some questions, but just so you know, when we're here, we'll be discussing politics, culture, history, and a little bit of everything. Well, today I have a special guest, and my guest is Chantel Jackson. So I'm going to read a little bit of Chantel's bio, and then I'm going to let her tell you more about herself. All right. By the way, American Legacy Network, you can get the app. It's only $3.99. So if you don't have it, that's another place where you can go and see some of these interviews. So Chantel Jackson is a native New Yorker and Democratic nominee for New York State Assembly for the 79th District in the South Bronx. Whoop, whoop, one time for the Bronx. Child of an immigrant mother from Belize and American-born father, Chantel proudly proclaims, "Soy de Belize." Did I say it right? Yes. While giving honor to her African ancestors. Chantel is also a dedicated member of her community, deeply connected and engaging in work which is selfless and life-changing. She's a proud UFT member and a social worker at an NYC public high school, college professor, and published author. I'll tell you a little bit about her platform before we get into her life, because what stood out to me when I saw it for the first time on a shirt was this called WIN. And not win like WIN. Win like, when are you going to do this, right? It's when we come with an agenda, we say what we need to say, we ask for what we need, and then we sit back and see who's going to give it to us while we continue fighting. So WIN stands for Wellness, Housing, Education, WIN now. Wellness, housing, education now. The mission will genuinely and totally transform her district into an even more healthy and wealthy community. Of the 62 counties in New York State, the Bronx holds the title as the unhealthiest county. Chantel wants to reduce high rates of diabetes, obesity, heart disease, and asthma by addressing the environmental factors that are the causes for these issues. She wants to properly fund mental health services and increase insurance for uninsured and underinsured people. When it comes to housing, she wants to continue creating affordable housing, lower evictions, and increase home ownership. Chantel wants to make sure the neediest school districts receive the funding owed to them by New York State. She wants to increase education in the RBCs, real estate, business, credit, and stocks. That's a mouthful.
Say that.
So that's just what she wants to do. But starting off, Chantel, can you just tell us about yourself? What was life like growing up and what got you into politics? Tell us your story.
Well, first of all, let me say thank you for the platform. Thank you for allowing me to be here with you.
You're very welcome. Shout out to Rodney.
Shout out to Rodney. Hey, family. I just want to acknowledge my sister, Crystyn, here, and how beautiful her lighting and lipstick is.
Thank you.
And so when it comes to talking about Chantel's life and growing up, I'm a girl from Harlem. I did not think that I would ever be in politics. It was never a thought for me. But, I grew up in Harlem and I was a part of almost every single form of public assistance. We're talking about Medicaid, food stamps, HUD, Mitchell Lama. I went to school on Pell Grants and TAP Grants. When I had my daughter at the age of 18, I received WIC. So when I tell you I was on every form of public assistance, I probably was on every form of public assistance. And so part of my story is that, and also that I had my daughter as a teenager while my ex-husband, then boyfriend, was incarcerated on drug charges. So he went to jail when I was 7 months pregnant, came home, our daughter was about 4 years old. And so I was being mom, going to school full time, working 3 or 4 jobs just to survive, and knowing that I wanted to provide more for my daughter. And how I got involved in politics, I would say, is from knowing that there aren't enough people that look like me, that talk like me, that represent me at the state legislative level. So while I was in college and I received my master's degree in social work, it was there that I decided, they need more social workers in legislation to set policy for people like me, for Black women, for mothers, for people who have family that were incarcerated. They need to hear from someone who actually dealt with the systems.
Thank you. And so thinking about the fact that you decided you were going to take a step into politics, who were some of the people who you looked at when you were younger as inspirations in politics or other?
I didn't look at people in politics for inspiration. Like, that wasn't a thing. They didn't look like me. They didn't talk to me. They didn't come to my hood. So there wasn't anyone that I knew of that I would be like, oh, I want to aspire to be that person. My role models growing up were always strong Black women, like my moms and the aunts and the women who hired me. Mostly, I was mostly hired by women, and they showed me what it looks like to be a leader and what it looks like to take care of community.
So tell me what leadership looks like to you. Explain, as a leader of your community, what are the things that are dear to your heart? What are ways that other people can walk in leadership, even if they're not in politics?
Yeah, so we're all leaders at every level. You do not need a title next to your name to lead. And what it looks like is being present, being a part of community, and being solution focused, right? I a lot of things that I got into is because I'm tired of complaining about them. I was one of the youngest members on my co-op board, right? I bought my home at 23. There were so many people complaining about what's happening at the co-op board, and I didn't know what was going on. I just heard the complaint. So I said, well, I'm joining the co-op board. So it's situations like that. I'm more about like solving problems than complaining about them. And also just being a part of community. I love being in my community, hearing the needs and helping people fulfill their own issues, dreams, all of those things. Like, it's not about me fixing every problem for you. It's more about like me enabling you to fix your own problems.
So it's all about empowerment for you.
100% about empowerment.
So the way that you caught my eye, I have known you from before, but watching you ride your bike through COVID from every borough all around the Bronx, making deliveries to hospitals, to housing complexes. Just tell me, what was that like? What was that like? Why did you feel the need to do it? And then I'm also going to follow up asking you about what happened during the riots, because I saw one of your responses and I was just snapping away. So start off with, COVID and the community.
So I'm a licensed social worker at a high school, and, I never stopped working. I was counseling students. I was counseling staff. I was doing a lot of grief counseling because a number of people have died around us. And while I was doing that, my community was unemployed. We faced the highest levels of unemployment in the Bronx, and my people were hungry. So I partnered with the elected officials and made sure that I served personally myself, served 800 meals a day for months. And I was getting calls because people saw what I was doing and heard about what I was doing. I was getting calls from people in Harlem, people in other parts of the Bronx. And if I could not get a car ride to them, I physically got on my bike, I remember carrying like 12 things of food to a woman in Harlem because she told me she needed food. The one thing I'm not gonna have people do is be hungry during this time. And if I can make a difference, I'm absolutely 100% going to do it. We just stopped serving food maybe last week. Me personally, I stopped serving food maybe in June, but then I had a team of people who were still out there daily making sure that the community had food.
Who were some of your partners in that who were helping provide?
So shout out to my Assemblyman, Michael Blake, who I am going to succeed. So he's the one currently in the seat. And when I tell you he's my champion, he is 100% my champion. He had the idea to collaborate with World Central Kitchen and bring millions of food to the Bronx. So Assemblyman Michael Blake, my state senator, Luis Sepulveda, we had Natalia Fernandez, who's also an assemblywoman in the Bronx. Like, everyone that I know, pretty much, we were just in the streets every single day, making sure that people were taken care of.
So we're talking about being in the streets. I woke up one morning and Chantel was going off live outside on Fordham Road, sweeping up the streets, picking up garbage, sweeping up glass. And while other politicians stood and took pictures, and talked about the travesty of looting, Chantel was outside cleaning up and talking about what leads to looting. So I just want you to speak a bit about that, because one of the things that I do admire in anyone who's working in the community is the ability to be able to empathize with the people while also empowering them, and to be able to understand that these things have a cause. Getting outside and wagging your fingers at everybody is not actually what's going to bring about improvement. So talk about that, and then talk about some of the things on your platform that could help some of those things.
So our community went through a lot this year. And when we saw the life of George Floyd be taken from him on camera, we heard about my sister Breonna Taylor life been taken from her, Ahmaud Arbery, and a number of people. Our people said enough is enough, and we tired. But that's how upset it makes me to know that we are in 2020 and Black people are fighting for their life. But this speaks to the truth, right? We're more upset about businesses than bodies. We're more upset about like what it looks like than what you're actually doing. And that's what really bothers me. So you're talking about people looting. No, we're tired. We're not taking anymore. So when people are fed up and they've had enough, they're going to start doing some stuff. And if you don't like it, then start changing policy. You need to go in there having conversations with these people that we've elected, these people that we put in charge of our safety, and start changing there. Because we didn't have the problem. We don't start it, we finish it. And so for me, I was not one to be like, oh, we shouldn't be burned down our community. You know what? Those businesses, those people don't live in our community. Those businesses probably don't even give back to our community. So I don't care about all of that. I care about the bodies that were lost. I care about the Black men and women who lost their lives. And that is what's important to me, not businesses. Not when it comes to life and death. Our businesses are second. So if you cared more about someone breaking up some stuff on Fordham, it won't happen again. Breaking up some stuff on Fordham, and that was more important than you actually looking at policy that got Black people dying in these streets, then you're the problem. And I'm gonna say that continuously. I'm gonna say it always. And all those elected officials that's out there for the photo op, I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you.
I'm here. Yes. So speaking to policies, when we talk about policies that can help people, when we talk about reasons why people should come out, a lot of people, they know about the political process, but it's kind of like a theory. Like, I voted every now and then, and things aren't changing. So tell us on the local level, what are things that we can actually change by our votes?
Right. So local politics matter more than anything else. It matters more than anything else because it directly affects your day-to-day. It directly affects your pension. It directly affects your garbage pickup. It directly affects who locks up your brothers and sisters. Local politics matter. And so on November 3rd, we're going to be voting for who we want for president, but we're also going to be voting for our state Senate, our state Assembly. We're going to be voting for Supreme Court justices. All those things are happening based on who you decide to put in office. And so we can choose to not vote, and we can choose to be ignorant to these things, but understand that the system is going to work regardless of if you're a part of it or not, right? And so if you want someone who speaks the way you speak and care about the things you care about, then you need to make sure that you're standing behind the elected officials that represent you well.
Thank you. So what are some of the big ideas on your platform? What are things that you want to see? Tell us about when.
Yeah, so this will get me excited. So now I'm not angry anymore. Because girl, you have my blood boiling just thinking about that time. So WIN stands for Wellness, Housing, and Education Now. And when we talk about wellness, and like you said, the Bronx of the 62 counties in New York State is the unhealthiest. And we lead in high rates of diabetes, obesity, heart disease, asthma, and it's all because of our environmental factors where we live. And so I want to make sure that there's investment in our community to combat these issues. And when I'm talking about investment, I'm talking about safe streets, because we can't get outside to exercise if our streets aren't safe. We're talking about protected bike lanes, because I'm an avid cyclist. I love to cycle, but that's another way in which we can get around our city, but also get our exercise in. So I'm going to be pushing for that. That's not a state thing, but I'm going to be working with our city council and all those other people who make those decisions to make sure I see more bike lanes. I want to make sure that we have mental health be something that we take seriously. Instead of talking about it all the time, we actually do something about it. And so I would love to see more social workers being involved in our mental health issues that we're having here in the state of New York. So that's when we're talking about wellness, we're talking about the entire body. So we're talking about the mind and the body, the spirit as well. Housing, we know that home ownership has been decreasing, but it has been decreasing drastically for people of color, Black people in particular. And so I'm going to be working tirelessly to make sure that we expand the Mitchell Lama program, which is a program that allowed me to own my home at 23, but also to create more homeowners, because I've noticed that when you have invested in your property, when you own something, you ain't trying to discard it. You're not trying to tear it up. You care about it. And so I want to increase home ownership, one, because it'll give you a sense of pride, but also give you something to pass down to your children, because it's all about generational wealth, right? When we talk about education, New York State owes us billions of dollars in foundation aid. Our neediest districts need it. But in addition to that, we need to start educating our kids on the things that they need to survive in this world and to thrive in this world. So that's why I talk about the RBCs. And RBCs stand for real estate, business, credit, and stocks. And I made a commitment to myself to make sure that every single year we have at least 79 people from my district invest in real estate, 79 people open up new businesses, 79 people to fix their credit, and 79 people to invest in stocks. So that's the platform.
So listening to you talk about business, one of the things that I did learn on your campaign trail was that your dad actually teaches programs very similar to that. So can you tell me a little bit about how your parents influence some of the things that you now see as important values that you have for the community that you already had from home?
Yeah. So shout out to my parents. My parents are the best, right? And a lot of what I've picked up from them is not from them sitting down with me at a table saying, you do this, this, and this. It's from me actually just watching them be and do. Everything that I've learned about business did not come from like my dad saying, do step A, B, C. It came from me watching my dad run multiple businesses. My mom is a true hustler, watching her make $1 out of 15 cents. And it's just like, without them saying, Chantel, I need you to do this, they just paved the way for me and my siblings. And we just took off from there.
Okay. So while we're talking about different things that your family may have done in the home, what are things that people in the community can do without the politicians? If the elections went away tomorrow, if your candidate doesn't win, what do you do to shift your community and shift yourself despite what's happening out there?
Everyone is a leader in their own right. You find what you're passionate about and you run forward. You run forward and you run with the people that are willing to run with you. So I care about like civic engagement. I care about real estate, business, credit, and stocks. However, my daughter is an artist, and so she cares about art. And so she makes sure that when she is pouring back into people, it's artistic ways in which she utilizes. So my ask is that everyone just find what you're passionate about, run forward, and take whoever's willing to run with you.
So you're talking about your daughter and how she's an artist. And I know that you've also been in the school system for quite some time. So tell me about what you see in the school system, what you'd like to see different in the school system, and how that has also impacted your campaign.
Yeah. So I've been fortunate to work for a phenomenal school that teaches students how to create television and film. So we're not making actors and actresses. We're making people who have real skills that they can take with them anywhere they go. So they know how to operate cameras and direct and lighting. They would kill me for this lighting that I have right now. They know how to do sound and all those things.
Shout out to the audience. Chantel is actually at a legislative event right now.
Yes.
A meeting ran over, so she had to like go catch the best
Yeah.
lighting for the day that had the best sound. So just
Thank
wanted to
you for
put that
putting that
out
out
there.
there.
She's doing the work
Yeah.
as we speak.
Yes, I'm definitely meeting with some local elected officials, and we're talking some serious talk of change. Yeah, so I've been fortunate to work with students who know how to do all those things. And I would love to see, so this school is in Long Island City. I would love to see that kind of love, passion, and drive in my district, right? And not that it doesn't exist there, but I would love to see the amount of resources that my school in Long Island City gets happen here in the South Bronx. Something that has been on my mind for a while now is that, I'm gonna get a little heavy, is that we need to stop letting our oppressors teach our kids. And I'm gonna say that one more time. We need to stop letting our oppressors teach our kids. Because I watched something on social media the other day where a white woman was going off on why she think it's okay to dislike Black people, right? And this is a teacher on a Zoom, and it was recorded by a student, right? And I'm telling you, we need to stop letting our oppressors teach our kids. So if there's anything that I would want to see different, I would love to see more Black schools, more Black ran schools, more Black ran schools by Black men, because we need our Black men in our schools. Like statistics show that when you are taught by someone that looks like you do better. And anytime that I've seen a Black man walk into my school, the kids like want to grab them, keep them forever. There's something that happens. There's something magical that happens when a Black man is teaching in schools. And so I would love to see more Black schools, Black administration, Black teachers teaching Black kids.
So what do two questions? What do those incentives look like? If when you make it into office and you are up there in Albany trying to get monies back into this community, what does that look like? And then while we're on the subject of Black men, I know there are lots of opinions flying around about various people speaking out right now. And I'm curious to know, when we talk about influence, I had a conversation with Joshua for a bit. And what comes up in politics is when people feel they're not being seen, they will speak to whoever will listen. And sometimes we may fall in judgment of who they're speaking to, but the big picture is people are feeling unseen. And when people feel unseen, the same way they might go tear up the neighborhood, they may also act out desperately. So I want you to speak a little bit to that and what it looks like when we see people, having influence.
Right. So the first thing is, what does it look like to incentivize Black men into going into education? And the truth is that we need to stop making the barriers first, right? I don't know if I'm willing to throw money at it, right? I'm willing to throw money at it. But the truth is that there are barriers, there is implicit bias that exists, there are microaggressions that exist, and those are the reasons why you cannot get people of color into certain areas. It's because you didn't make the space clear enough for them. You didn't make the space safe enough for them. You didn't try. And so when we can acknowledge that, then we can start seeing more people of color in those areas. But yes, am I willing to throw money at it? I'm willing to throw a lot of money at it. But you can't tell me that you can't find a Black teacher when we have HBCUs that are graduating Black and brown women and men every single year. You can't tell me that they don't exist. You're not trying. So I'll say that. Go ahead.
Just to keep going with that, to say that children do better when they are taught by someone who looks like them. Give me some examples of ways that you've seen students transform when they're able to have a teacher who deeply cares about them and is not just showing up because they feel bad or because they think that they're saving the children in the community by their presence.
Yeah. So I know that I worked with some well-to-do white people, right? And this ain't for you. I'm talking to how our kids develop when they are nurtured by someone that looks like them. It reminds them of home. It makes them feel safe. They don't have to explain to me, what hair issues are, because I know, because I have them myself. I've grown up with them. You don't have to explain to me how colorism works, because I know, and I've grown up with them myself. And so there's a difference that happens. Like, let me tell you this. a comment can be made in a classroom, and if you are not from that same culture, you won't even catch it, right? So like when one of my girl students, she complained about like what a male student said to her, another Black male student said to her, I caught it immediately, but someone of a different culture did not catch it because we don't speak the same language all the time. And so those small things that I'm able to address right away because we can connect on that level. That doesn't happen necessarily if you're not of the same culture. And my Jewish brothers and sisters, they understand that because they teach their kids, right? They learn their culture in their schools. They learn their language in their schools. They understand that.
Yeah.
And then as far as like us seeking support where we can seek support, as long as you understand who you are asking for support, and as long as you understand what the cost is and consequences of that support, then you go forth and you do what you have to do. But I'm going to speak directly to Ice Cube. I'm going to speak directly to like the Biden, the whole Trump thing. Ice Cube made it very clear that he went to the Democratic Party first and they told him to wait. And my issue with this country is that we've been waiting. And everyone else has gotten their reparations without calling it that or calling it that, and we have not. And this country owes us. This country owes us. And so the truth is, we are voting the lesser of two evils again. And I'm not telling anyone who to vote for, but whoever's willing to pour money to support and to give resources to Black people, those are the people in which we need to be taking from. And when I say taking from, I mean taking from and using it for our good. We're not offering them anything in return because you owe that to us.
So when we talk about that, one of the things you mentioned earlier, even in schools, is that we're seeing bias. We're seeing people come in with their different views of the community. Something that I saw recently was that the President of the United States has written some executive order saying that if people teach about diversity and inclusion, he will not fund them. And I have a friend who travels around the country doing workshops in this, and people are starting to cancel her contracts because they believe their money will run out if they continue to invest in these types of programming. So
we can't be scared anymore. We can't be scared anymore. We need to do the work and we need to stand by what we believe in. If you're going to cower at every single thing someone tells you, then you're going to continue to be running. My mother always told me, stay true to who you are and you will never go wrong. If I got to sleep on the sidewalk because I was right, then I was right.
Thank you for being direct on that. And it's funny because when we talk about policy and just thinking about this presidential campaign, you hear some people speak to, Republicans, you hear some people speak to Democrats, but what I keep hearing is some of the things that certain candidates have done that don't sit well with the community. And so they're willing to listen to another candidate who is telling them directly, I'm sending the cops for you. And what I feel like, you ran under the Democratic Party because
I'm a Democrat.
That's what right. However, I know you have a range of different political views. But, when you have to decide to run, you pick the way that you need to run. So in saying that, as a Democrat, what are some of the things that combat, if you hear on one end, this candidate locked up was over a reform bill, the crime reform, but then this candidate supports a party that continuously, does policies that are keeping Black men locked away in jail for years and years and years. And voters are showing up with the louder is starting to get the ear of the people as opposed to the actual facts of what's happening. So tell us about the facts of your party and some of the things that might combat what people are saying or what the internet starts swirling around and then people just grab onto it and run with it.
First things first is everyone deserves to be criticized and critiqued, period. In the modern day of Democrats and Republicans, Democrats have done more for Black people than Republicans, right? So we'll say that, right? However, Democrats have not done enough to continuously get the Black vote. Black women, we carry the Democratic Party. And when I tell you they have not done enough for us as a Democrat myself, They have not done enough for us. There's no reason why every single year we should be saying that the mortality rate is higher for Black women if we continuously are voting you in office, right? You need to see these things and make changes on these things. Now, just because I call out the Democratic Party does not mean I'm voting Republican. So people need to start wisening up and stop using this, oh, so you're a Republican now? No, I'm not. But I'm very clear that when things don't work in my house, I get to tell you it's not working and we need to fix it. Call it for what it is, fix it, and we move forward. That's just how it goes. I'm not giving you my blind loyalty. It's just not going to ever happen. All right. We need to start holding people accountable. And the truth is, we need to start making Democrats know that we're not going to vote for you just because you're Democratic. We're going to vote for you if you are pushing our agenda, our policies, things that benefit us. Every single race does that. Every single community does that. But Black people, we continuously just give our vote away because they Democrats. No, we're not doing that anymore. We're holding you accountable. What are you going to do for me? Quid pro quo.
Thank you. So when we talk about that, once you're in office, how does your community communicate with you? What are you going to do so that you stay on the ground? What do you want that to look like? What does your office look like?
I'm in these streets. Like my office is potentially going to be close to where I live. I am in these streets, and my team is going to be in these streets. And so what it looks like is me constantly for the younger generation, posting stuff on social media, sending emails. For my older generations, having town halls, making you guys come in, things like that, sending home newsletters and things like that. But continuously giving people information is what I'm committed to doing. And continuously showing up in the community. Just because I'm not in office yet, I still had a community fair where hundreds of people came out, received backpacks, received food, received PPE, received information. Because this is what I do. I care about serving my people. So I'm going to continuously do that. My team is going to do that. And we're going to get this work. And we're going to change the idea that we're going to be we're the poorest congressional district. If I have to do it one person at a time, we're going to change that because I'm tired of being called the poorest congressional district. We are about economic development from now on.
Thank you. So you've been talking about a number of different programs. We had somebody write in a question about the program that you were able to get your home under that you want to see expanded. So what I want now is for you to share various programs that you know about that the rest of us don't know about. Because whenever I find something, a good thing, I want to share it with everybody. So what are some of the programs for the community that we should be looking to or Googling right now?
Okay, so I spoke about the Mitchell-Lama program, which is from my Mitchell-Lama is a state-run program. And so that just means that we can buy our apartments at a lower rate than what a normal co-op or a normal co-op condo would be. And so it allowed me at 23 years old to buy something, to own something, and to be able to pass it on to my daughter. So when I go to the state, I want to be on the subcommittee that make decisions. Those are your elected officials, by the way, being very loud in the back. When I go to the state, I want to make sure that I'm part of the Mitchell-Lama program. When it comes to business, you mentioned my dad, so I want to just talk about WEBO, which is Workshop in Business Opportunity. That's been around for decades, and it basically teaches people how to be an entrepreneur, how to start and run your business. So that exists. They have classes every semester, and so I think they just started, but you can Google it, WEBO, Workshop in Business Opportunity. As far as credit and stocks and things like that, I'm going to be running series starting really soon on how to start fixing your credit, how to buy stocks, how to run a business, how to open and operate a business, and how to buy real estate. So yeah, we are really going to change what the Bronx looks like, sounds like, and known for.
Well, since we're looking to do that for adults, how do we get programs like this into the schools?
Having conversations. So I am actually working with someone, and I don't want to talk too much about it because it's not finalized, but it's simply conversation. Your network is your net worth. You have to start telling people what you want to do. And I swear the universe will start aligning to put those things in place. And so I just started a conversation I really want kids to be taught about credit and financial literacy. And they're like, oh, I already do that. Really? Okay, so let's figure out how to take this to a school. And it's just like that. With the Department of Education, you guys can You can be a consultant and come on as a contractor to teach certain things. You just need to find a principal that believes in what you believe in, do the paperwork, and then you're in.
Yes, I know all about it. And it's funny, I did teach financial literacy for quite some time and entrepreneurship in the schools. I think I taught a number of programs in a school that's right in your district, like right outside of where you live. I remember being in that neighborhood and being like, oh, okay. So I am going to open up the floor for questions. Anybody who has questions for Chantel. But I also want to ask you, what are things that you want people to look to expect from you?
Expect the rawness, expect me to be who I am. So like if you go on my social media, you're gonna see that I love God and I love twerking and I love rap music and I love soca. Like I'm a person, I'm a real person. I'm going to make mistakes because I am a person, and I want the grace and the mercy when I make those mistakes. Call me out, but also you get to congratulate me when I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So that's pretty much what you can expect.
I like it. So in talking about what you see for, I guess, the Bronx in the future, when you think about businesses, when you think about health, when you think about wellness, all those things, what are things that you would like to see pop up around the Bronx? Again, I talked about what happened, you know, if the politicians weren't there, what do we do? What are different types of organizations that we can form to enhance wellness, financial literacy? Where can we do this? Who do we talk to? How do we come together as a community?
So it's interesting because I'm getting a little excited. So as I was coming into this meeting that I'm in, I was making my list of all the things I want to see happen in my district. And one of them is the actual wellness center. So I want there to be a center where people can go for their mental and their physical wellness. So we're talking about exercise classes, meditation and yoga, counseling, you know, urban farm, you know, like all of those things, healthy eating, all that to exist in one place. But also, you know, letting people know that they're already running a business, but they have not just made it official. So like I cycle with a group called Blood, Sweat, and Gears. And I was talking to them like, yo, y'all need to form a 501c3 because you guys are like paying for all the stuff we use on these rides. And we can like get some dollars like to do this because you guys are already doing wellness. If you are getting a group of Black people to ride their bike for an hour or 2 or 3, you're already doing wellness. And so someone else can fund this project for you. So it's just simple things like that. Or like your friend who make dinners. Like you need to get your food handler's license. You need to figure out how to get you into corporate America so you can start delivering your food there. Or we need to get you a restaurant, you know, a brick and mortar. It's things like that.
So that's one of the things when it comes to opening businesses. One of the biggest things in our community is being able to open it, being able to get those loans, looking at discrimination when it comes to loans. So what are some policies that you think could be put in order so that once the community says we're ready, we want to own, we want to buy, how are they going to be able to do that if we still have those barriers? What can help?
I mean, some of the things that can help is that we set aside spots for Black and brown business owners. If we set aside like locations, so we give all these real estate incentives and tax write-offs and stuff, and if we put in a line or two that says, yo, you got to put 51% of the stores that you open need to be Black and brown, that starts shifting things. But also we need to give people the tools for them to be successful. Like sometimes what happens with Black businesses is that they don't have the longevity of others because they didn't have the resources, they didn't have the information. And so we have to start giving them the information and making sure that they have the tools to be successful for long periods of time.
Yeah, and I agree with that because sometimes, you know, I've said to people, when we go into business, we have just how much we have. And then when it's gone, it's gone. There's nobody to call and say, hey, I need a little bit more. This is not working. And then unfortunately, when the community looks at us and says, oh, they went into business, it didn't work. You know what I mean? Then it's kind of like a stigma of let's just stay safe. and do what
Yeah.
we know to do instead of trying to venture out and do it again.
Yeah.
So that's a
Well, you
big
said venture, so that made me think about venture capitalists, and that's where we have to start making sure we get our monies from as well. Also, crowdfunding. So we've been crowdfunding without knowing that we were crowdfunding. So when you have a fish fry and y'all pulling money together to bury somebody, you crowdfunding. And so what we want to do is take that to 10 levels higher and make sure that we connect you with the people that can get you money for the long-term success of your business.
Oh, we got some questions coming in.
Okay.
But really quickly, you've talked about generational wealth. And for people who may not be familiar or just hear it as a buzzword, talk more about what that looks like and why it matters for the next generation. And also, because I understand the term back generational wealth, which is when instead of actually looking to take care of the next generation, we're busy taking care of the generation before us. So how does that impact our community and how can we shift that?
So we shifted by being our first millionaire in our family, right? It's my job to make my money and to employ as many people as I can that look like me and come from where I come from. But I'll tell you this, the two ways that I know generational wealth is created is by life insurance and by home ownership. And so one of the things we need to start doing is making sure that everyone has life insurance. I heard something on a podcast, Earn Your Leisure, like not too long ago, that says if you have a grandparent and they're like 6 or 7 grandchildren, you guys need to take out a policy for grandma, because the truth is she's not going to live here forever. And that money is going to be enough, one, to take care of her expenses when she passes, but also to give you guys something to start off with to build your generational wealth. So we need to make sure that our elders and our family have life insurance, and we need to have it for ourselves. But also we need to have our home ownership. We got to stop selling our homes to pay for this, pay off bills that we just have. We have to start seeing our stuff as investments, as assets, and making sure we utilize them as such.
Yeah, and to speak to, making sure that we own homes, making sure that we have insurance policies, that's where the education comes in. Because if you get a bunch of money and then you go out and buy a car, as opposed to investing in something, then it's almost like the generation after you, the generation before you, made sure that you have what you needed, but didn't quite teach you how to handle it. Hello.
So this is Gustavo Rivera. He's a senator in the Bronx. He's just stopping in to say hi. He wants to make sure that I eat, but
over there.
It's okay.
We're almost done. So
No,
save
okay.
your plate and make it hot.
Say your question again, Crystyn. Sorry about that.
I was saying that sometimes the children, the next generation, I guess you could say, will have the finances. We'll have the finances or we'll have the capital, but they don't quite know what to do with it. And then what that ends up looking like is grandma leaves you however many $1,000s and you go buy a car.
Right. And so you have to start spending money the way you have to start spending money. You got to start spending what you can afford, right? Instead of buying a liability, we need to start taking care of our assets, making sure that we invest in things that's going to pay us back. So like me, I spent a lot of money in Nike. I ain't gonna lie, that's what I love to do. And so what I made sure I did was I bought some Nike stocks. So I get dividends. So I get money back every time, the sales go up. And Nike stocks cost like $120 right now per stock. And so I'm glad I bought it in much less. So things like that. That's the education that my parents didn't even give me that information. I learned that on my own. I learned that through YouTube and podcasts and things like that. So what I'm saying is when you get a lump sum of money, I wouldn't even go and pay off all my debts first. What I would do is figure out how can I flip this money to make sure it continuously grows, and then I can pay off those debts and take care of everything else.
Say that again, because a lot of times I think this generation, or at least
they live for today.
Black people, well, the instant gratification, and then one of the things that I've learned in wealth workshops is that Black people tend to go out and pay all their student loans off because they're so afraid of it. And the reason many times they're afraid of it is because somebody didn't pay it and then their wages got garnished, versus negotiating with student loans and considering it an expense that everybody has. That's what other communities understand, right?
No,
we'll go broke trying to be debt free when that's actually healthy debt. So that finance education is a big piece. Because if you don't know, you just don't know.
It's a big piece. And let me tell you, I know so much now about loans that I'm telling my 18-year-old daughter, go take out that school loan and use that to start your business. No one told me that when I was in school. No one said, oh, when you take out that school loan, go and make sure you can invest in something that will take care of these costs. And so I had to go through life so that my daughter life is a little bit easier, right? And so your student loans, should you pay them? Of course you should pay them. However, if you have a lump sum of money, you have to figure out how to make that money flip. And I learned that flipping stuff from that drug dealing past. So I'm telling you, take everything from your past and apply it to your future. So like that flip is absolutely important, because that way, when I pay off all my debt, I'm not just sitting there like, okay, where I'm gonna get money from now? You gotta start making this money work for you instead of working for your money.
You got it. There was one question I want to take really quickly because it's almost time for us to get off. Opportunity zones fan or not a. So we had a question about
opportunity zones. Okay, so the idea of opportunity zones, right? The idea that we're going to revitalize our low-income, impoverished communities makes sense. However, the people who really win are people who have capital gains. So if you have hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars in capital gains and you get to park it away and develop this community and you don't have to pay any taxes on it, then you win, right? But like, how do me, Chantel, who live in opportunity zone, how do I get to benefit from that? Yeah, I'm gonna get me a Starbucks, but I don't really drink Starbucks. I don't care about that. I do like the fact of having amenities in my neighborhood, but I want to profit too. And that's where opportunity zones go wrong, because the people in the community are not profiting from it. And one of the bills that's in the Senate right now is a Zelno-Myrie bill that allows tenants to be the first people to buy their building when it goes up for sale. And that's the kind of stuff I support. When I tell you your legislation matters, it matters.
Thank you. So we're almost out of time. But if there's anything you want to add, when you just said legislation matters, when I asked you earlier about why it's important to get out and vote, don't just sit it out because you feel powerless. You have power. Tell everybody the power that they carry with their vote, and how it's going to affect them.
Yeah, no, your vote is your power. You decide, the people that you put in office is going to decide whether or not you get locked up for a dime bag, or whether or not when they legalize marijuana, if white men are going to be the ones profiting from it, or the communities that they devastated because of drug laws get the profits from that same plant. So your vote matters, because you're going to decide whether the judge that you put in office is going to be locking up your brothers and sisters. And so I'm telling you, everyone that's on that ballot, when you get it, if you have a chance, start looking through it, start researching, seeing what they stand for, before you just give your vote away. And we need to start doing our civic engagement way before election day. So you have some time to look up your candidates, look them up, see what they stand for, see what they out here in these streets doing. And so that's what I mean when I say your vote matters.
Thank you. Thank you. And you just talked about candidates. There's actually an app right now that you can go on. I'm trying to remember the name. But it was created by Cassandra Nicole Jackson. You can ballot. What did you say? What is it called? You can actually put in your candidate, put in your ideas, and it'll direct you to the candidate that best reflects your ideas. It is almost time to go. Chantel, thank you for being here with us today, being our guest, sharing your thoughts, sharing your ideas, and just telling us all the different ways that you work heavily in your community and are healing your community from the ground up. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you guys for tuning in, American Legacy Network. If you want to see these all the time, cooking shows, politics, production, music, all that good stuff, make sure you download the American Legacy Network app. $3.99, guys. It's just $3.99. All right. Otherwise, I will be with you again with the right stuff. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you to our guest, Chantel. Thank you to the producer, Joshua, who's in the background doing his thing. I will see you guys when we meet again. Come on back to the right stuff. Bye-bye.